Christmas. A time of year that can mean many different things for many people. For some, it's a time to gather with friends and family to have that nice, delicious Christmas dinner. For others, it's a time to give back to the people who have done wonderful things for them. Or, it's a time to exchange gifts with that special someone. But for me, and maybe you, it's mostly about the birth of Jesus. Now, most of us know the story of Jesus' birth from Sunday school or reading it in the books of Matthew or Luke. Or, perhaps maybe you've heard it from the perspective of a crippled lamb. But what about from the perspective of a cat? This is Thaddeus. Now, at first glance, you're probably thinking, it's a cat, so what? And I couldn't really blame you for that. However, Thaddeus' story is a little different than most. You see, cats like Thaddeus are brought into a difficult life once they're born. They are viewed with superstition, looked down upon with fear and contempt, being associated with bad luck and symbols of evil, including death. And Thaddeus was sadly no exception. His mother did her best to keep him safe and hidden due to knowing how humans treat things that they don't understand and fear. But like all cats, they tend to let curiosity get the better of them. And one day, he went out to explore. At first, nothing bad happened. He met some children and played with them the entire day before he went home, hoping to repeat it the next morning. But sadly, it was not to be. For the parents found out and chased him away, throwing things and cursing him while at it. Thaddeus ran and ran, tears in his eyes, until he got out of the town and to an open field. He lay down, paused over his eyes, thinking, why? Why were they so mean to him? But then, as he lay there, he ended up hearing a sound he hoped he would never hear. The sound of hissing reached his ears. Quickly, he turned around and jumped back before he got bit. Before him was the snake known as Mamu, the scourge of Bethlehem. Mamu came to Bethlehem 2 years prior before Thaddeus was born, causing mayhem and death whenever he wandered into town. Unfortunately, Thaddeus' father, who was also a black cat, was a victim of Mamu's. Not by Mamu's fangs, but by the people who thought his father was the cause of Mamu's appearance. My, aren't you a fast one, despite being so young? Mamu said. What do you want? Thaddeus said, doing his best to control his fear. Oh, I just heard the sound of crying and the smell of tears. So, I followed it, and here I am. Tell me, child, what troubles you so? Thaddeus didn't want to be anywhere near Mamu. But with what he had dealt with that morning, he couldn't help himself and started talking about what happened. After Mamu heard the poor cat's tale, he started laughing. Oh, of course they hate you, boy. Cats like you will always be hated for what you are, instead of acknowledged for who you are. Black cats are associated with bad luck and death. Nothing you do will change their minds. And without saying another word, Mamu left, leaving the poor kitten to wallow in his grief. After that day, Thaddeus quickly learned to avoid humans, and if he wanted to go outside, he would only go out at night. It broke his heart to stay away from the children that wanted to play with him, but he was too scared of what might happen if the adults found him. But as such, time moved on, and one day, during the month of December, Thaddeus found himself sitting on a cliff edge looking up towards the sky, remembering what his mother told him on that day many months ago. My son, you are kind, you are smart, And no matter what others say, I love you, and so does God. He has a purpose for everything He created, but you have to have faith and continue pushing forward, not giving up, and hoping that things will get better. God loved him? Thaddeus wanted to laugh. If God loved him, why would he be born the way he was? With a sigh, he looked up towards the sky and said, God, if you truly love me, help me. I know that I am more than what people label me as. After that, he left for home. But little did Thaddeus know that on this day, his world would change, and not just his, but that of the entire world. That night, Thaddeus was awakened by the sound of movement. As he looked around his home, he saw something that he never expected. There, lying in the hay, was a woman, with a man sitting beside her, holding what appeared to be a newborn baby, who did not make a sound other than make a few small giggles, along with a smile that, for some reason that he couldn't explain, brought a warm feeling to him. Also, he noticed that there were some shepherds and a couple of people he had never seen before. But he noticed that they had nicer clothes than many of the other people that he had seen. And finally, next to the woman, he saw one of his few friends that he had, Joshua the lamb, helping to keep the baby warm. He so wanted to go over and take a look at the newborn infant to try and figure out exactly what was happening. But fear of how the adults would react to him kept him at bay. So he just stayed where he was and looked on. After a little while, the shepherds and the wise men, after he found out who they were, left, and the parents laid the baby in a manger and settled down to get some rest and soon fell asleep. Thaddeus too was getting ready to go back to sleep, but before he could, a dark feeling came over him, and soon he knew why. From out of the shadows, making his way towards the manger, was the vile serpent, Mamu. As Mamu was making his way towards the sleeping infant, Thaddeus saw the murderous intent in the snake's eyes. Out of pure instinct, Thaddeus rushed to the baby's defense. "Out of my way, boy! This doesn't concern you," hissed Mamu. "If you are thinking of attacking that baby, then I'm going to stay right where I am," Thaddeus shot back. This completely threw Mamu off guard. Why? Why would you protect something that will only grow to hate and despise you? Have you forgotten how the humans have treated you?" yelled Mamu. "No, I have not. And even now I ask myself why I'm doing this. But you know something? Even though the humans have treated me poorly, even if that child grows to be like the rest, right here, right now, as far as I'm concerned, that baby is innocent, and I will not allow you to touch a single hair on it," Thaddeus declared. Mamu just looked at Thaddeus with contempt. "You sound just like your father." And with that, Mamu attacked. Thaddeus jumped back, unsheathed his claws, and took a swipe at the snake. Back and forth they fought, Thaddeus using his claws to keep Mamu at bay, while keeping himself between the baby and the snake, with Mamu trying to sink his fangs into the cat. Thaddeus noted how determined Mamu was to reach the child. He had never seen Mamu put so much effort to kill someone before. "Why are you doing this, Mamu? You've never put so much attention or effort to take a life. What makes this child different?" questioned Thaddeus. "I don't answer to you, boy. Now get out of my way so I can kill the brat!" shouted Mamu as the snake lunged again, his fangs coming so close to biting the feline's forelimb. At the same time, Thaddeus noticed that Mamu's attacks weren't as smooth or calculated as before. Now the snake was just trying to bypass his defenses and get to the child. Why? What made this child so special? But seeing how determined Mamu was, it only strengthened his resolve to protect the child, no matter the cost. Now in Mamu's mind, he knew he was running out of time. He saw that the child's parents were starting to awake from the sound of fighting. He had to act fast before it was too late, and he couldn't waste time on dealing with this insufferable hairball that stood before him. So he changed tactics, swung his tail at Thaddeus, and succeeded in hitting the cat, knocking him down to the floor. Taking this opportunity, Mamu took the chance to slither his way to the resting baby as fast as he could. When he was within lunging distance, he coiled back and flung himself into the air, fangs poised, ready to deliver his toxic venom. He could see it. Victory was his, but just before he could deliver the killing blow, he felt a sharp pain in the back of his neck, and then darkness. Thaddeus stood over the fallen body of Mamu panting. He was able to recover and save the child just in time. As he tried to catch his breath, the sound of the baby caught his ears and went to check on the child. What he saw melted his heart. Two eyes full of life and kindness that brought him a sense of peace and warmth he had never felt before were staring back at him. The little baby reached his little hand out towards Thaddeus, who couldn't help but lean into the extended hand. He soon found himself laying down next to the baby and fell asleep. The child's parents, Joseph and Mary, witnessed the entire thing and couldn't help but be grateful towards the cat for not only saving their son, but smiling at the sight of the two holding each other as well. The next day, the town of Bethlehem would hear about what happened that night, and the people would begin to, slowly but surely, look and treat Thaddeus in a new way, not judging him for how he looked, but by how he acted. As for Thaddeus himself, he and the baby, whose name was Jesus, would grow to become close friends, and the two would go on to have many adventures together. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this little story. A quick shout out to the people who made the artwork and music for this little story. And yeah, God bless, Merry Christmas, and have a fantastic New Year.